Hey everyone, what's up? It's Norm Schriever with the Who in the World podcast. Thanks so much for listening, subscribing, and telling others about the podcast. Really appreciate it. Today I have an awesome old friend of mine on the pod, Clint G, or Clint G da Monsta, as we call him. Clint's actually Aussie, and I met him while traveling in Southeast Asia. We met in Cambodia, I think around 2013 or something, and became instant friends. One of the most conscious, smart, cultured, interesting, balanced, and just fun dudes you'll ever meet. Clint's the kind of guy that he could travel to any country in Asia and not only pick up the language, but the actual dialect and the tone so quickly. It's really incredible. That's how bright he is. So, in honor of Clint, I'm going to play his favorite song from Thailand to kick off the podcast. Let's go!
Do 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 doเธอทำไมถึงทำกับฉันได้ดูดูดูดูเธอทำไมถึงทำกับฉันได้ดูดูดูดูเธอทำไมถึงทำกับฉันได้
Check. 1 2 1 2. Clint da Monsta.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you doing?
I'm just chilling, man. Just chilling back at the crib. Kids are going to bed. George's, he's probably fighting with his mum about going to bed. He makes up songs. He's 4 now.
He's 4. Oh my God, that's insane.
Yeah, dude. When was the last time you saw him? He was 7 months.
Yeah. Are you serious?
Yeah, it was in 2017, Thailand.
No. At his
Oh no. Sorry, 2 years old, dude.
Yep,
I completely blanked on
the
Philippines.
Yeah. I know. Me and you, we've been like in a bunch of countries. What, 3 countries now together, and many years.
Thailand, Cambodia, Philippines. Yeah.
Philippines, yeah. Seems like more though.
Yeah, it's just because it's so many times. Because we went back and forth. How many times?
Jesus, how many times? I mean, 10 easily, right?
Yeah. It's got to be up there, man.
So yeah, it's interesting. But in Samui or something, man. I mean, no one's got money now. Well, that's not true. But now is the perfect time, or the next year, to buy something from a distressed, pennies on the dollar from a distressed owner, knowing
there's going to be a lot of those.
Yeah, and you're going to have to sit on it, unless it's just a property just for yourself, but for 2-3 years until business comes back.
We live in interesting times. We definitely live in interesting times.
Yeah.
I try to see what's going on. I chat to Matteo a bit, to check in on him, see how he is. And he says Samui's finished, man. He goes, it's never going to be. It's going to take years to get back.
Yeah.
And you feel for him, man.
It's all tourism there, right?
95%. So there's a YouTube channel called The Tiger, spelled THIIA, AIGER. It's run by an Aussie guy, and he's got a couple of other reporters, and they actually publish news. It's not just like, hey, who got pissed at the pub the other week and got in trouble. It's actually, and they were talking about how much they're based in Phuket, and they were talking about the Samui Plus program and this, and they were saying that Samui's, don't quote me on this, but they're saying Samui is like 95% of their income is tourism. So Matteo said there are hotels that are just vacant. You got soy dogs that are just sleeping there, and all the rooms are closed up. And
it's like it's something like a post-apocalyptic movie where like the jungle, you could see like roots of trees in the jungle, like taking back buildings soon. And
that's what I was thinking, man. Yeah. That's what I was thinking. I was just like, when they go back, these 5-star resorts, they are going to have to do a hell of a lot of upkeep.
Interesting.
No, well, that's the unfortunate thing, man. It's like corruption and greed is the ultimate deterrent to invest in a foreign country. Like the opportunity sounds amazing. Like, you go on a holiday to somewhere like Boracay or Palawan or Koh Samui or Koh Lan, somewhere beautiful, and you see these people that live there, and they go and they sell you on the dream that they live there. But the reality is, you've got to jump through 1,000 hoops just to be able to put your name on the title, and even then, it's fraught with instability.
Yep.
It's not like you buy a house in America, which it's your house, your name's on it, it's legal, it stands, it's there. If something happens to you and you say, hey, if something happens to me, the title goes to this person, it goes to that person. There's no, the US government's not going to take it back, say, sorry guys, it's ours now.
No, you're right. And no matter what, you're a foreigner in these other countries. I think of examples in the Philippines, but Cambodia is a good example where they didn't have any property records, right? With the genocide and the war and the poverty. And so basically the generals own everything that they just took, by might or by force.
That is, the interesting thing about Southeast Asia is might is right in almost every case.
Big fish eats little fish.
Yeah. If you've got the gun, or you got the brute force, or you got the, the generals backing you, then you can kind of do, who's going to mess with you?
It's 100% who you know and your connections. But then, when it gets interesting, it's like, that's why another reason why they fight regime change so much is that all their wealth and all their cronies and their, it's not just the president who doesn't want democracy. And I'm not talking about one country now, just in general, but wants to be a dictator and never leave office, and then hand it down to their children and stuff. But you think of the established, all the generals and the business people and everyone that's on the teat, so to speak, doesn't want any regime change,
So when we were there in 2014, I after we were in Cambodia, I went to Koh Samui, went to the gym, and I went to a wedding at the end of that trip.
Yep.
And a couple that I met, the Melbourne couple, they bought and built a place not far from Chawang, but really nice, North Chawang, or heading towards Bo Put, if that makes sense, if you look on the map. And and they talked about it, how it's a 99-year lease and all that sort of stuff. And during the pandemic, I was wondering, like, they can't get there. Like, they could if they made some bullshit excuse and said, hey, I've got a family member there and this and that, and that's why I've got to go. But then they can't get back, right? Well, it's very difficult. But who's renting that place? Who's looking after that place? And who's to say it's going to be,
who's squatting in that place and just taking it over, right?
Yeah, and what are you going to do? How are you going to get it back? Like, we go back to that might is right, and who's got the juice gets all that. You may have taken a loan, or you've spent how many years saving up to get your slice of paradise, and in a blink of an eye, figuratively, it's taken.
And you either have to hire, a ton of lawyers and bribe the right politicians, but in a lot of countries, the lawyers are the biggest crooks. And we know the politicians are, but like in Costa Rica now, where I'm living, there's a lot of people hire lawyers and I have some crazy stories about lawyers. Like, I think you read South of Normal, but you hire lawyers to help you with something, and they end up stealing the property or stealing your money or double cross.
That lives there? Is that the dude's name?
We will not use his real name, but yes, it is. I'll edit that out.
I just remember in the book, it was I don't even know if it was his real name. It was a character.
Yep.
That was a guest of the local government for a little while.
I guess, yeah, he was in jail. He still lives there, and with his family and stuff. So he's doing pretty well.
You don't need that manic shit in your life, man.
Nah, man. I'm old now, bro. I'm the old dog. I just chill and, like whatever. I like peace. I like quiet. I like, good vibes, nice people. Keep it simple,
So talk to me about Costa Rica.
Yes, sir. It's, we were talking about that, the chaos of Southeast Asia and infrastructure and things. And Costa Rica is a great place because they do an amazing job with infrastructure. The healthcare is pretty good. It's sort of like the Thailand of Latin America, right? Where
Awesome.
you look at the neighbors. I mean, Panama is very well established and it's a commercial center, very industrial. But other than that, Nicaragua, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, I mean, that's a lot of poverty, a lot of, drugs, violence, chaos. So Costa Rica is a really special place. It's expensive as shit these days, comparatively.
Oh, really?
Comparatively, I'm a cheap ass. I've been on the road a long time, but
yeah, but you make it work, brother.
Yeah, I make it work. I always, worry and complain, but make it work. But that country is very special because they protect their environment like no other nation on earth.
Oh, that's good. So they won't let it get overfished, and
it's all
they're not going to let you
reserve.
set up
something like 70%, or I don't even know the right stat, but it might be something like 3/4 of the country is protected natural reserve. It's insane.
Oh, man, that's what's up.
It's got 0.04% of the world's landmass, so less than half of 1% of the world's landmass, and it's got almost 6% of its biodiversity.
Oh, that's what's up. That's good. I like that.
So yeah, it's a good place, man. It's good for me right now. Eventually I'll make my way back to Thailand.
You're very well connected there, like you can plug right in. You got Scott and his crew, and he'll set you up, and then guys in other spots, and you like Metro Manila quite well. Yeah, that spot that you had out in Metro Manila near
McKinley Hill.
That's it. Something it was near Makati, right?
Yep.
Was that mall that I met you at, and we went to the hot dog spot, and they had that cool background underground bar that you kind of walk through the back.
Yep. It
was like, what the hell is this, man? It looks like a kitschy 50s American diner out the front where people are paying like $7 for a hot dog, and you go in the back and it's like, jazz bar and all cool lighting.
Yeah. It's I forget the name of it, but it's like a California theme. Remember they have like the VW bus and surfing.
And that rum, man, that real sweet dark rum that was it just hit the spot. It was one of those all day
Don Papa,
rums.
baby. Don Papa.
That's it. That's it.
One of my favorites. But Manila does hidden bars. God bless the Filipinos for many reasons, but they're so creative. And if you're into music and culture and fun, funky, like different artistic stuff, and they have all these hidden bars and secret little bars in Manila where, like, I haven't been to, a lot of them, but a buddy of mine, this Cali Filipino dude, lives there and he's DJing in an Irish bar, right? So I'm hanging out. We're in the Irish bar. He finishes his set, old school hip hop. It's dope. And he's like, all right, come with me. I'm like, where are we going? And like, we're walking in a hallway towards the bathroom. There's like, a mop there. And so I'm like, dude, where are you taking me? Like, and there's like a big, like a wardrobe, like a dresser thing, like cabinets that are almost floor to ceiling. And he opens them and it's a secret door going to a secret bar behind. And there's this super high end cigar and whiskey lounge behind the Irish bar.
Yeah.
And it's like, like red plush rugs and leather couch. I'm like, oh my God. And there's another one in Manila where I've never been there, but I guess it's like a red British style phone booth. And you go in the phone booth and there's something that some lever or something you dial and it opens up to a bar. So yeah, they do it right. But eventually I'll get back to, I think the move is to finally get smart and live in Thailand, live in Jomtien. And then take my vacations and my visa runs and travel all over the Philippines. But trying to do the opposite is just like banging your head against the wall,
Well, I mean, we spoke about this quite a few times, and you made a really good point. And the more I think about it, I think you're spot on. The wonderful thing about the Philippines is everyone speaks English incredibly well. Mm. So if you're not someone who picks up languages or hasn't any interest in it, then Philippines is incredibly easy because it's, hey, where's a toilet? can I order this?
Yeah,
Can I get a cab to here?
they may say we don't have one, but it'll be in perfect English, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, Thailand, it's so beautiful and so safe and clean and comfortable, and everything works and it's easy and the healthcare is good and it's cheap, and it's like, you know. And then Philippines, it's so goddamn chaotic and it's way too expensive and the food is
Very
terrible.
overpopulated.
Apologies to my Filipino friends, don't kill me,
Oh,
but
dude, I love Filipino food, man. I eat it like, I don't know,
you get it at home.
5. Yeah, but I mean, I had tinola tonight. I love it.
Yeah. Well, it's different too between, you know, what you get on the street there or what you get in some little hole in the
Home
wall in
food is
Cebu
different.
than home. Yeah. But like the traveling there, I mean, the adventure you have, you know, 7,500 islands and so many beaches and cool jungle and mountains and different climates and language. I mean, it's like you could be there your whole life and not even scratch the surface.
Yeah,
You know,
so for real, we were thinking about moving there for a couple of years while the kids are still young enough to enjoy it.
Yeah.
How we make that work, we haven't figured it out yet. And the COVID's put a massive damper on it. But, you know, the international school, the education system is fantastic there, especially if you
got
go
to
to
pay
like an
for it.
internationals.
You
Yeah,
got to pay for it, but the schools, if you know, the local schools, no, but the international schools, you could definitely. But there's that, you know, here's the problem then. Like, are you living in Manila? Then you have to live in Manila, you know?
yeah. Well, we probably, I mean, his family's all there.
Mm.
So we probably would. And I would, you know, we do trips to, because Luzon's got some nice spots that you can get to.
Here's the crazy thing. It's easier to fly in that country than it is to drive places. If you're going, okay, let's go to Baguio in the mountains, you're going to spend, you know, they tell you, oh, you get there in 4.5 hours. That means 8 hours, you know?
Yeah,
and you could drive. Hours. Yeah, you could drive to the airport and be 45 minutes be in Boracay, you know?
When I came and met you, you know, when I was there and I came to meet you and we went to that spot, that funky little bar, that took me 40 minutes to get there. And it was maybe, I don't know, 15 kilometers, so 10 miles, or just under 10 miles.
Less, yeah.
To get to you. And it's, you know, the airport to where we were staying was only 22 kilometers and it took us over 2.5 hours to get there. Yeah. And here's me complaining, first world problem. I got to go on a holiday. I got to go on a plane.
No, bro, it's okay. Like, you feel no guilt, first world guilt about that. The traffic and sitting in traffic in the Philippines and Manila sucks.
I never experienced traffic like that. And me, I was like, see. So I understand why people, you know, they finish work and it's 2 hours later before they get home because the traffic is so bad. You just stop and get something to eat.
The commute is insane. Like, and here's the thing: you could go. All right, so from McKinley Hill to Makati, it's about 3 kilometers, 2 kilometers.
Yeah.
Maybe. Like I could walk it, and I didn't mind walking it, except then you're drenched in sweat by the time you get where you're going. But I mean, it takes me, you know, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, whatever it is to walk it. Maybe it's a mile. I don't know. I had a little scooter that I would.
Yeah, the electric scooter. That was awesome.
I love that thing. But like, you could go at sometimes in a taxi or Uber, it takes 15 minutes. Sometimes it could take an hour and a half to do that 2 kilometers.
Yeah.
So it's just.
I mean, I feel for the cabbies because how the fuck are they going to make any money on that?
Oh, they're
2.5 kilometers. Yeah. Oh yeah.
The jeepneys.
I would do it just for the lols. I'll do it just for the experience of doing it. It's like, you know, eating kwek at 3 a.m. in the morning after you come out of the club, or balut, you know, because I mean, you know, because Philippines, but it's not good for you. You just do it for the experience.
But that's the thing in the Philippines. It's all about the vibe, and I mean, happy people. The language is almost like a sing song, and you know, they've perfected. It's really a science and an art to happiness and their societal. Like, it's all about the group, all about the team, all about the family, all about the friends. It's not an individual society at all.
No, they are. like everyone has their own family, but I've never known family vibes like Filipino family vibes. And the sense of community is different to anything that I know personally. And I was just like, this is awesome. It's you could probably speak on this as well, but you often find those who have less give the most.
Oh yeah.
Or give the freest, I should say.
Yep.
Because they just do, man.
And that's a lot of places too, but in the Philippines, like you said, like there's this whole elite or a lot of Filipino Americans that go back and forth, or and people with money. And I didn't even get down with that crowd. That's why I was like oil and water with Manila. It was just too bougie for me, and then it's not exactly safe just hanging out on the street with common folks, but
yeah, you're not going to go to the barangay, like to the bad, the bad hoods, where it's crime riddled, or because gun crime is big there.
Yeah, a lot of theft and stuff. But yeah, man, that's cool that you guys might check that out. And let's zoom out, bro. You're such an interesting cat. Like, we have so much to cover.
Yeah. All right.
So
where do you want to start?
Let's start with BC and AC, before Clint and after Clint. When did I first meet you?
December 2013. December 2013.
2013. My God.
Yeah, dude. It was at you remember the fitness resort run by Pierre?
Oh my God.
He's got it out in Kep now. He moved to Kep because I think everyone bounced from Sihanoukville.
That cranky ass, rude Frenchman.
Yeah, he used to beat people up who didn't toe the line. I'd seen that happen. I saw on one of he had like this MMA class, and there was some guy who was like questioning what he was saying, and he just kind of like had his way with him, and that shut the dude up from asking any more questions.
It was a weird setup. So this was in Sihanoukville, which is like a crazy little chaotic ocean town in southern Cambodia. And
it was beautiful for a minute that we were there.
Yeah.
We caught the wave, man. It's like that, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas had Johnny Depp when he's being Hunter S. Thompson talks about if you look with the right kind of eyes, you can see where the water hit and where the
high water mark
back.
Yep.
Yeah. We were in, because there was this weird time where you have to remember when we were there, it was kind of and we weren't there for the best part. I would say there would have been other parts, but what we got to see was there was biking, everywhere. The guys riding around with rebel jackets on, and
and it wasn't taken over by commercialism yet. It wasn't, these Chinese resorts and hotels, and it was still
Dolphin Shack and JJ's, and you're picking up a 1 liter bottle of Jack Daniels for like $14 US. And,
oh my God.
You drink all night, and then you'd rush to the chemist and the pharmacy in the morning to go get the extra joss because you were mad hungover and you needed something to get you. Yeah, I had the picture of the muscle man on the front, and it was just like all caffeine and taurine, and sugar, and you would just like pour that in your soda water with your coffee, and you would just get on with it. But so that's where we met, and I had a motorcycle because I was just staying down the road I was on CT Sete, or they call it, in downtown Sihanoukville, and you were staying up near the beach.
Yep.
And I dropped you off, and later on that night we met Tim with the fruit shakes.
Yeah.
That you were the face of.
Yep. The boozy freeze.
That's it. Yeah.
So Tim was a Canadian dude. How did I meet him? I don't even remember.
I don't know.
But he's one of the smartest dudes that you'll know. He's super nice. And so he's
an awesome guy, man.
Yeah, Canadian. I don't even think he was Cambodian. I think he was Canadian Vietnamese. But he was living in Sihanoukville, and he basically had a commercial space. He had like a store, and his thing was boozy freeze, which was taking like basically popsicles or flavored water and putting a bunch of booze in it, like booze ice cream, and putting it in these plastic sleeves.
And he'd freeze them and sell. They were selling it at Otres Beach. I remember that because it was your face with next to the thing.
So then they were like, we met and became friends. And then one day he had his new batch. You were there. I think you even took the photo
Yeah, and yes.
in his hallway or something, right? And then
Yeah.
I didn't even know, like I knew he took the photo. I was like, oh, that's cool. So it's me and him and we're holding up the product. And then months, if not a year later, when I was living in Phnom Penh, the capital city there, I was in a little martial arts class and some girl comes up to me and she's like, you look familiar. I'm like, uh-oh. and she's like,
Like
I
I
was
must
just
have been drunk.
yeah, like, no, it wasn't me. It was my evil twin. And she's like, I was just in Sihanoukville, and I think you're on like this advertisement, this billboard type thing at this little beach shack for something called Boozy Freeze. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, man. That would have been, yeah. So that was, man, that was a crazy time.
Crazy time, bro. I mean,
Yeah.
so not only was it fun, right? And we make our own fun. We don't care where we're at or what we're doing, but I think there's certain travelers who go for comfort and for pleasure and, ooh, look at this resort and I got cheap drinks and I got wasted with my friends and blah, blah, blah. And then there's us and others who take it all in and enjoy the culture, like the uniqueness of exactly where you're at that moment in the world, in history, because everything moves, history, everything changes, countries,
yeah.
situations, people, how things look, circumstances, as we know now with the pandemic. So sort of taking it all in and being in the moment, which isn't about, just having fun, which we had plenty of, like I said, and Cambodia, there's no better place, especially back then, because it wasn't, I mean, the world knew nothing about Cambodia at that point.
Yeah. We like, so that French dude from the fitness resort, he really reminded me of that John Reno, the actor that's in Ronin. He
Okay.
probably doesn't matter. And it was a wild time, dude.
You were living in Sihanoukville, but basically we just happened to be like, I was Googling, boxing or martial arts class, which I'm not good at all, martial arts, and you are like kickboxing and Muay Thai and stuff. And so we're out there. And I think he would, like, if you're a beginner, like he would yell at people and even like slap people and just
Yeah,
like
he was
not very encouraging.
he was School of Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Stu was there. That's because I met
God.
Stu. I was doing a class with Stuart and we got paired up and there was a whole bunch of Russian dudes there. And I had this comedian Bert Kreischer's shirt on that says machine when it's written in, the Russian letters. And the guy saw it and we chatted and I said, like, I don't know any Russian words. So I just said, cool.
Yeah.
And and we met Stu, and that's how that connection happened with Stu and, Anton and Judd and all that.
Oh, man. So tell us about Stu. I'll let you put it in your words.
All right. So Stu, or Mad Stu, as he's known. Well, I don't know if Stuart's his even real name, but he was someone who lived and trained in Thailand for a while, had a few fights. He's told us he was an electrician. He was definitely hit in the head multiple times because he like social awareness, or he didn't know where he was sometimes, or was clueless about the situation. So, as an example, we were at a bar and he was on the phone, as loud, like incredibly loud, that everyone could hear his conversation. And he was talking about, he was chatting up some person that he'd met on the phone and said, come here. And that person happened to be there while he was talking to them on the phone, literally steps away. And he's like, oh, shit, I don't know what she's doing. He puts the phone down and starts chatting to someone else. And the person that he was talking to on the phone is watching him.
Yeah.
So yeah, this dude, he's a wild man. Because we saw him in Sihanoukville and we hung out with him. He went to the casino and he told us he got in trouble with some local gangster type who then he had to bribe them because he said they threatened him with a weapon. And you kind of half believe it because, there's guns everywhere.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah. I mean, basically he was, every time he went out every night, he would drink like a whole bottle of vodka and there'd be a fight and arguments and problems with locals and gangsters.
Yeah, well, that's what happened.
Drugs and whatever every single night. I can't even imagine like what that experience must be like. Not good.
Yeah, dude. So later on, yeah. So anyway, getting back, so that was true. He was a character, man. Like he is something that is out of a movie. He'd be like, he's the guy who comes in, he's in a whirlwind, everything happens around him, then he's out, and you just go, what the fuck just happened here?
Yeah.
Well, the papers flying everywhere. There's
and ready to fight everyone. I mean, he was in crazy shape, and he was just like, and if you were his friend, like he's one of those guys, like you don't want to say, I'm done for the night, I'm going home, before he might start yelling at you, and next thing he's swinging at you. Like you back away slowly,
That dude was, I think he watched Roadhouse one too many times, and he became the Patrick Swayze character, where he was down to fuck people up whenever he could.
Yeah.
And then we saw him on Phnom Penh.
Yeah.
Again at the other gym.
Yep. And he lived there for a while, and like he was the kind of guy, like you said, you don't know if his name was real, who he was hiding from. There was rumors about this and that, and like after a while, even in Phnom Penh, we'd literally cross the street. I don't think you did, but like when I lived there, like if I'd see him, I'd cross the street and just keep going, like wouldn't even try to get spotted by him.
Well, yeah, he was. Yeah. He was that kind of dude. You didn't know what kind of mood he was, because if you caught him and he was sober, awesome. If you caught him and he was, there was a quarter left of that bottle of that that he's been drinking, you'd be like, I'll see you later.
No, sometimes he was super nice, and like
but you just didn't want to catch him in that angry mood. Like, come on, man, let's keep going. It's like shit.
So you spent a lot of time in Sihanoukville, and you got me turned on to it, and then Phnom. Part of the reason I moved to Cambodia is I spent a lot of time there. With you, and got to know the country a little bit and just loved the country. And I'm not a city guy, but Phnom Penh is incredible.
Yeah. It was for that hot minute everything's been developed. Cambodia is such an evolving place. And, I'm no authority on it. I just, from the time that you're in, you just see these changes happen at an incredible rate. I don't know, if you go on YouTube today and you look at Sihanoukville on YouTube, you wouldn't recognize it. Like if you can see the golden line that we all know, that golden line at that big circle, and you go, I don't recognize any of this. It's gone so quick.
I think Wicked showed me, or that's another mutual friend we'll talk about, but he showed me photos. I was like, no way. So it's all developed, and Phnom Penh is, and that's now it's spread out so far. That city is huge, like geographically. And so much development. And now, I mean, no one really knows what's going to happen, but I did a whole podcast interview with Wicked.
What's up?
And it sucked. Well, I was in Nicaragua. He was in Cambodia. It was my late night. It was his morning. But it turned out the audio quality was so bad between our two internet connections that it's unusable. So he's one of the dudes that like
You'll get back.
Oh yeah, but I'm like 100%. I'm gonna have him on the podcast, but I'm literally gonna like fly out there, like book a either a 5-star or a 1-star hotel, so we could put a bottle in between us, put the microphone, and just let's talk. He's that interesting.
Yeah.
So in Phnom Penh, and you were part of that whole crew. Like you got me set up on what's
where do we stay, man? The Pickled Parrot.
The Pickled Parrot, the famous man. There's been a lot of history there.
Yeah. So I met some expat traveler in Sihanoukville, and he goes, "Where are you off to next?" And I was like, "I've got I've 6 weeks here," because my hotel for Sihanoukville for the month was like $150 US.
Unbelievable
for the month. Yeah, it was, and they cleaned your room every day. I was like, "Fuck, this is unreal." So then I was, you get to know people after 6 weeks of hanging out with them. They see your face. Where are you off to next? I'm going to go to Thailand, but on my way through, I'm going to stay in Phnom Penh. I want to check it out. And he goes, "Well, there's a whole bunch of places here near Sisawath Key. You can kind of walk around. You can see something. They have concerts there, good food and shit. This place is," he said, it was run by an Aussie guy, which it was.
Mm-hmm.
And he said they've got good beer, good food, cold, and he knew I was Aussie, and he goes, I got meat pies and stuff, which I was like, cool. Haven't had one of those for a while. And I ended up just crashing there, and it was cheap. Which, I'm a backpacker 8 years ago. It suited my budget at the time.
I think
And
it was like 23 or 24 US dollars for the night. And this old building that on the street was nothing but bars, and there was like monkeys running around literally. And this one respite, like just craziness. And the one oasis was this bar restaurant, the Pickled Parrot. And you go in and there's no windows. There's just the door you go through, and there's security. So like none of the beggars, the hustlers, the riffraff could follow you. But basically the bar was old school, open 24/7. There was people.
It was like Cheers, man. It kind of gave me that Cheers sitcom vibe.
Well, there'd be the drunk old expat who hasn't eaten in 4 days, but he's been drunk for 3 of them, who's like, you don't know if he's alive, like at the bar. And like little Cambodian gangsters with gold chains and
hustling at the pool table and the competition that they had there all the time.
And the check-in for the hotel upstairs. So you walk up these big empty hallways into these tiny little
rooms. And the stairs were so tiny, man. Yeah. Like you couldn't put your whole foot on the stair.
Yeah. But like you check in and out at the bar. And so like totally windowless, but this little place, $23 a night, it had a little refrigerator, little mini fridge, and you had a little TV, and our places didn't get robbed.
Around the corner had this amazing Mexican spot, and they had like $1.50 margaritas.
Judd loves that spot. That's like one of his favorites.
Oh man, you get lit up there. It was like your pre-warm-up. You're like, right, where are we off to tonight? I will just stop in here. And you get a margarita, and they give you like a bowl of chips and some salsa. And you just keep ordering. And before you know it, you've had 4 of them. You're not really hungry. It's like, I'll just go somewhere else.
But it's like amazing to think, like for me and you turned me on to the Pickle Parrot, and I always stayed there, for weeks. That place was like heaven, because $23 for a hotel, and you're in the center of everything, and you make friends there working there. And like now people would see that and go, oh my God, that's a dive. That's a shithole. Why would you ever stay there? And to us, that was like setting the bar high, at the time, that's how bright.
Oh yeah.
Crazy.
What was the other spot that we stayed not far from there the second time that you and I? Something 7? No.
I don't know.
I remember getting a haircut on the side of the street with you. I'm on the way to that barbecue spot that you like to work out at.
Oh, yeah. Lone Star Barbecue. And this was back.
Lone Star.
So Phnom Penh.
This would have been 2014, 2015. Yeah. Maybe 2015.
I lived there, from like 2015 to 17, basically.
Yeah, I think at the time you were living there, and something 11, something like that. Anyway, there was a pool.
Yep. So Phnom Penh, for people who don't know, the capital city of Cambodia, like the tourist area, they have the Riverside Quay, it's called, which is a giant boulevard along the river, which is sort of the community center. So it's tiled, which is interesting, but it's massive, and it goes on for probably 1.5 miles or something. And everyone's walking and biking and exercising and sitting on benches and playing music and sports. And there's little temples and people are selling stuff. So it's really the community center. And then all the streets are basically perpendicular going into that area that have like bars and restaurants and cafes, and like it's super fun. And then you have the Royal Palace not far away, which is just breathtaking. So beautiful. And I found these neighborhoods behind the Royal Palace. So still, a little touristy, but not nearly the amount of people. And most people didn't know about it. It was a lot more local. And I found I've lived in an apartment there for a while, and it was terrible. And they were ripping me off. It was too expensive. And there was like, rats and no aircon. And so I figured out that I could get this hotel and just live there. So I don't even remember the name, but
G11, was it G11?
G11. My God, you got a good memory. G11 Hotel. And these people were so nice, and it was all like carved wood, like ornamental. And you go in, I think I was on the second or the third floor. and I
Where
had
the pool was.
yep, I
It
had a
was like,
massive room. It was like basically 2 king beds put together, a balcony, like a slate tile bathroom, air con, Wi-Fi, free breakfast for $22 a night.
we had that was pretty wild, man. That's like, that was good because we'd hit the gym,
Yep.
go get that barbecue at that place. You'd do some work. I would probably sleep more, and then we'd head back out again. And that was when Johnny and all the other boys were there, and Jen Queen,
Jen Queen,
and Louisa.
Yep.
Yeah.
They lived there a long time. It was a cool crew.
Yeah, but they were hustling. They were running those bars, and it was wild, man.
It was wild. And I lived at that hotel on and off for 2 years, believe it or not. And so they knew me so well, they'd give me the exact same room. And the cool thing was, if I went traveling somewhere, if I went to the Philippines, if I went to Sihanoukville or whatever, even for 3 days, I would just pack up my stuff and leave it with them, and they'd keep it safe and they wouldn't charge me, and then just give me my room when I came back. But Phnom Penh was really special in those days and that time, and especially having that connection with Wicked and his crew.
That was a real interesting experience, meeting those dudes and hanging out with them. And then we hit the clubs with them. We had those wild nights because so that was the second time we all went to Sihanoukville together.
Yep.
So the first time is where pretty much all the Dragon Town stuff happened. And that's when we met our good friend from Alabama. Yeah.
So, and then your boy Kim, right?
Yeah. Kim was there. Yeah. So Kim had a spot. He's back in Phnom Penh now.
But yeah, he had a little bar there, and we would kick it. I remember we were like,
it did.
We didn't really any other
because it was.
Go ahead.
Because you met Brett, the other Aussie diet, and Matt, because they had the other bars right there by Kim's, and there was tenders and all that.
Yep.
So that's where you and I went, and when we went down at JJ's.
And there was we'd be hanging there. There wasn't really other customers, but we'd hang there, and booze was cheap. And I remember one night we had barbecue snake there, and we'd eat a bunch of.
Still got the photo, man, of us eating barbecue snake there.
Me too. I found a bunch of photos in advance of this podcast, and there's one of us eating barbecue snake and eating fried cricket or something like that.
Yeah, no, we did eat that night because the there was an old Cambodian dude, and the weird thing about Cambodia, there was a very young nation because of the genocide.
Yep.
So the old people had some really fucking sad tales, which is, they went through an incredible, I don't know how you would say it, but it was just horrible experience.
Genocide. Yeah. I mean, they got wiped out. The population basically reset. And so it's rare to find someone over, 40, 50 years old at that time.
Yeah, but there was an older guy, and he used to cruise around on his motorcycle, like a little scooter motorcycle. He had a boombox at the back, and he had "yo" written on it, and it would just "yo" get off, and he would sell nougat. He would sell this nougat wrapped up in paper, and it was nothing, but you would just buy it off him just so you could give him some coin. He'd do his little dance if he made a sale, and it was all good. And he'd do his thing, and you just see him every now and again. You go "yo," and he'd just yell out "yo,"
and that's good marketing, right? He was a personality and made you smile, and you're like, here you go, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even eat the nougat. I was I'd give it to people. I had it a couple of times, but it was just it was like sugar condensed.
Yeah.
So you could have a couple bites and you're I feel my teeth running. So maybe I'm just going to pass.
So I think that bar and maybe that night or that time, like you mentioned, was when we hung out with Alabama. Right?
Yeah.
You want to you want to tell us about Alabama?
So I stayed at this hotel. There was this place called Charlie Harper's, which doesn't exist anymore in Sihanoukville, because the guy who ran it, Tony, is now passed. He had a motorcycle accident, I heard, because I'm, dudes that I know that live there. I go, hey, whatever happened to that dude? And he goes, nah, finished. And I'm like, okay. And so anyway, Alabama was staying there with his dad. I don't really know his real name. I just know he was from Alabama. And dude had a brain injury, unfortunately. Something happened to him. And he got cracked on the head, and he was a young guy, man. He was like
under 22 or something, or
Yeah, and he's like
45 or
not work.
yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't working again. So I think his dad just wanted to kind of get him out of the where he was at, and he happened to be living there at the time. And we went out with him that one night where you were there. So it was him, Kim,
Mhm.
yourself. We had the tuk-tuk driver, Leop, who's now passed.
Mm.
Um, and we went on this crazy bar crawl. We went to LV's. We got a bottle. Brett was there as well.
Mhm.
And we went down to some shady dirt road bar area. It was all locals.
So we went to and in Cambodia there, I'll jump in. It's like, there's decent stuff built by foreigners or built for tourism, but when you get local, you're talking about tin shacks, and that's dirt floors. That's not even an exaggeration, right? So a bunch of foreigners there. We took a tuk-tuk, which is the little wooden, basically motor carts, taxis. We took it into this super local dirt road, like a bunch of karaoke bars and sketchy bars in the middle of a super local Cambodian area.
Yeah. So, and that was crazy enough. And these were people who probably don't live on a lot. And there's bars directly across the road from where someone lives. And man, it must have been closing time because it was getting the dudes that were there. They were cool to us, but they weren't nice people.
So there's a bunch of young Cambodians, probably 15, 16, 17 years old, or maybe they were 25, right? You can't tell. But, they weren't like big or anything. They were just playing pool. But I think because you spoke a little Khmer and we were nice and just said hi.
And Kim was there as well.
And Kim was there.
Yeah.
And I think I bought him a round of beers or something like that. But, like anywhere you go, you just acknowledge them, say, hey, this is your country. This is your bars, thank you and hello, and show a little respect. And they loved us.
Yeah. Yeah. They were all good with us. But at the end, at the time to leave, we want to go, and this dude, old Alabama, decided it's going to be a good idea to cut a piss on the front door of someone's house.
Mm.
And as he, steps to the door to do it, they got a dog, and the dog just starts going off, like out of its mind, barking. And we're yelling at him, go, hey man, it's time to go. You don't need to piss there. Just go down the road like 50 meters. It's going to be dirt.
Yeah, we knew that was super bad news, even though we were, having fun and partying. I think we were all like, no, and like,
you don't disrespect. You don't piss on someone's front door, man. Like,
but yeah, Alabama was out there, man. He and we found out later that all those dudes in the bar were basically little murderers, right?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, like no exaggeration. They were,
like
crazy.
They would do that if you gave them money, and yeah.
That's what they did. But so Alabama, with his brain injury, poor guy, he would unfortunately drink a lot, like every day, because you're living
and
there.
He would buy a lot of drugs, man.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. But like, you're literally, people are in these places and it's cheap and you have nothing to do all day. So they just find trouble. But his interesting thing is he would walk all day, every day.
Yeah. In that heat.
And you would just see him like, in his Alabama hat, and you'd see him walking like 5 miles, on some road from where he lived. Okay, there you go. But yeah. Yeah,
well, he would walk to the beach from where I stayed. And where I stayed was like not far from where that fitness gym was.
Yeah.
So that's a decent walk, man.
And Cambodia is like full of characters like that, like the foreigners, the expats, the locals, for so many reasons. But a good number one being they don't have extradition treaties with America or other countries. So if you're, wanted by the police, the FBI, Interpol, CIA, ex-military, the Russian government wants to kill you, the IRS wants to kill you, you go to Cambodia and that's where you hide out.
Yeah, there was a lot of people like that. So how we ended up, when we were there, Norm, at that same time, there was a guy who beached his yacht at one of the islands. I think it was Koh Rong.
Yep.
And
Russian,
he was tweeting
Russian
about
billionaire,
it.
right?
Yeah, and he defrauded some folks, and he was just like kind of bragging on it. I was like, okay, man. I'm like, remember there was that guy who just got they did like a full James Bond spy killing thing on him where they put poison in his coffee while he sat at a cafe in London. I was like, man, I wouldn't mess with any of those dudes.
Yeah.
I would not be bragging about stealing from them. That's for sure.
So the dude basically took, like ripped off a bunch of gangsters or government or banks or whatever for, hundreds of millions or billion, whatever in Russia. And he was on this giant luxury yacht with, hot chicks and crew and his little white poodle. And he was bouncing around the islands in Cambodia, just sort of hiding out. But to your point, he got stranded. This was like the news story at the time. He got like washed up on the beach, and they were trying to, of some little island, and they were trying to dig him out, and it was pretty remote. So this idiot starts taking a bunch of Instagram selfies and posting them with, him and hot chicks on the beach and his dog. And I don't remember what happened to him, but I think you probably do.
No, I didn't pay too much attention to it. I was just like, oh man, that's brave.
But they found him. They got him because of that.
Oh, yeah, well.
Yeah,
I mean,
didn't turn out well for him. But yeah, so Cambodia, unbelievable place. And that is also where it all started, where you introduced me to Anton. And then, of course, through him.
Well, it was by Stu, really. It was by that mad Stu. Because so we were in, you and I were at an Irish spot in Phnom Penh eating. And mad Stu, in his madness, he's walking around at about 9 o'clock at night with his sunglasses on. And it's completely dark, but he's too cool. And we waved him over and we're having a chat. And then we're talking about, the gym and this and that. And literally it was only a couple of years since the documentary came out. And I'd seen it, at a gym that I was at in Melbourne called Hammers.
And this is the documentary, The 100-Man Fight.
Yeah, 100-Man.
Reed.
Yeah,
yep.
That's right. And like Hammer knows Judd, and it was at the Astor Theatre, and I went along to see it because I like that kind of stuff. And I had no idea that I'd ever meet him. And Stu goes, "Yeah, I know this dude." Blah blah blah. I go, "Bullshit, you know him?" He goes, "Yeah, I trained with him in Pattaya, blah blah, and this and that." He goes, "I know Anton," and he's like, while he was there at the table, he starts messaging Judd, saying, "Oh, this guy that I'm sitting with here in Cambodia said he used to beat you up. He trains at this gym." And Judd's like, "What the?" He goes, "Yeah, I know, Hammer. What's this guy's name?" And I was like, "Don't say that to him, man," because I watched that thing and I was like, I saw what he did to these guys who are strong and can fight. He would like just break me in half, like literally. And I was like, "Don't say that, man." But you can't tell him to not do anything. But
yeah.
And then I think Anton came. I was going to Samui, and Anton came to Phnom Penh and met up with you shortly then after.
I didn't know that Mad Stu connected everyone,
Yes.
but I remember hearing the story where he was like, "Oh, this dude's gonna be," and Judd, of the nicest person on earth, was probably like, "Oh, boy." Yeah.
When you see that documentary and you speak to Judd, you'd be like, "How's this the same person?" But
yeah,
that's how it is.
He's perfected violence, basically, and he's also one of the kindest, most respectful, humble people you'll ever meet.
100%, man. 100%. Judd is one of those dudes that if he asks you to do something, you'd be like, "Oh, whatever you need, man.
Yeah.
I got it. Whatever you need."
So yeah, that's crazy. So it all started. I mean, you could say it's Stu, but it's really you being aware and talking to people and connecting people and being who you are.
Yeah.
Honestly, to be honest with you, my whole life path changed because of that, or wasn't,
Really?
enhanced, or yeah, bro. I mean, so this is how it started. So I was staying at the Pickled Parrot, and this is 2000, 15, 14, 16? I don't even know.
No, I think it was still 13 because that was 13, when Stu was around.
And you weren't in Cambodia at the time, but I was.
I think I just left.
You just left, and you messaged me and you're like, "Hey, there's this dude from Melbourne named Anton. He just did this documentary with the karate, Judd Reed, who's a karate expert, friend of his who's famous in karate. And they did a documentary and they want to try to promote it a little bit. And I think Anton's in Phnom Penh at the time. You guys should connect." So you sent the message, here's message him or whatever. Cool. And so I message him. And I'm like, hey, Anton, how are you, man? Like, where are you? You know, in Phnom Penh. Great, me too. Where, you know, what street or what area? And Phnom Penh is so big, right? Thousands of hotels and street. And he's like, I'm near the river down. Oh, great, me too. You know, I'm thinking, maybe he's 20 blocks away or something. And he's, what street? And what street was that? Was it 18 or something? The streets were numbered.
I think at the time it was 104. I don't know if it's still there.
God, you have a good memory. 104. And then where you staying? Pickled Parrot. Dude, I'm at the Pickled Parrot too. And it turns out he was one floor above me at the same little crazy expat hotel. So he was actually flying out that morning. He had a flight at like 11 a.m. or something like that. So literally he's like, I have 1 hour for coffee between 6 and 7 a.m. before I have to leave. And, you know, I was like, oh, all right, I guess I'll meet this guy. You know, like I have a lot of, you know, my complaining, bitching self. I have a lot of work to do. It's early. Okay. And meet him. And instantly you just, you know, this guy just oozed charisma and one of the most passionate, intelligent, you know, like in the moment, just raw but real people you'll ever meet. So we sat there in the Pickled Parrot bar at 6 to 7 in the morning, and still people drinking from the night before and drinking coffee, and had a big brekkie. And he told me all about the documentary and Judd and how he did the 100-man fight. Excuse me, I should say Sheehan Reed. I shouldn't say Judd at this point. I know, I just joke. But you know, the 100-man fight and all this stuff, and how they were going on a world barnstorming tour to promote it. And I was, you know, I was in. And so before he left, he slipped me the DVD, and I watched it for the first time right there in the Pickled Parrot later that day. And, you know, was hooked. And then later contacted Sheehan Reed in Australia, and we had wonderful phone conversations. And I did an article for them, 1 or 2 articles.
You did in the Huff Post.
In the Huff Post, yeah. And so their documentary went on to do big things. And later, I didn't meet Judd until I think like a year and a half later in Thailand with you.
That's right. That's right. I went there because on a holiday. That's when Manoj came with us.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to Samui, and
oh God,
he wanted to remember.
We'll get into that.
Yeah. But so we were so we were there, and he hooked us up with a session with Sakmon Cole, which was, dude, that's a dream come true. Like one of the greatest to ever do it.
So that's a Muay Thai legend, which is like, you know, the Thai national sport of like kickboxing, which is insane. It's just insane how adept these guys are as fighters, how violent, brutal the sport is. But this guy was a, you know, world champion and a legend. And Judd had lived in Thailand for a long time and trained. And
they were training together, right? At WKO at that time.
Yep.
With all those dudes. I think Sakmon Cole's got some crazy record. But one of the most amazing things is this dude, when he was 17 years old, beat Ramon Dekkers, who is, if you look up Ramon Dekkers in Muay Thai, he was like, they called him the Tasmanian Devil. He's a foreigner who came and fucked up a whole bunch of high-level Thais. Like, and Sakmon Cole at 17 beat this dude.
And he had some of the bloodiest fights too, which is like
the elbow fight. Because if you look up elbow fight on YouTube, that's Sakmon Cole, man.
They're just covered in blood, both of them, for like round after round after round.
And that was like golden era Muay Thai, you know, when the betting is high and the purses are high and everyone loves it, and it's old Lumpini Stadium, and you know, before it got ripped down and then rebuilt, and then you know, but
it's like the Yankee Stadium or the Maracanã in Brazil of Muay Thai, But so Judd hooked us up with a training
hooked us up with that. He came and picked us up in his car, and he took us out for dinner, and it was just awesome, man. It was awesome to you know, to meet a dude from Melbourne all the way out there who's just you know, he's an amazing character
and a legend. I mean,
can't
just
say enough things nice
training
things
with
about him.
him. Yeah, like what he's accomplished. I mean, breaking down, breaking down his accomplishments are just insane. Like there's
you could be here all day rattling him off. But he told me he cracked your rib when you did the
Lord,
the Uchidesi camp. But anyway, I'm jumping around a little bit. So yeah, when you met him, we were in Pattaya for the Songkran.
Yep, in Thailand in Pattaya, Thailand, which is like their Las Vegas on steroids for the big water festival, which is just massive water fight party in the streets for like a week. It's just the craziest thing you've ever seen.
Oh, it's wild. Like you just get doused in ice water, and that really it's not pleasant, but it is what it is. And yeah, that was a wild trip, man. So yeah, so Judd, we just had dinner with him, went out, had a few beers, and everywhere we went, when we went there with him, the owner came out to see him. Yep. So that's how you know you're with someone important. Like you and I, we just go to a bar and go, yeah, can we go to a table here, three of us?
Well, it doesn't hurt that he speaks fluent Thai, right? He lived there a long time. He's married to a beautiful, wonderful Thai woman. They have a son. They're back in Melbourne now, but he speaks fluent Thai. But the other thing why everyone came out to greet him is not just because he's awesome and famous, but he's a creature of habit. And we love Judd, but he'll go to the same damn place. He'll go there every day, every time.
Yeah. Wow.
We joke about it. We all do that in some way.
Man. Well, we're talking about like how many times have you stayed at the Parrot?
Yep, exactly. If something works for us. Yeah. But so basically Judd, trained in Japan under Sosai Masoyama, like the master of Kyokushin karate. And Judd was only 19 years old, never been outside of Australia, I don't think, and didn't speak Japanese. It was like immersive 1,000 days of training, like the hardest conditions you've ever thought of. And he went on for a long and lucrative career in professional fighting in Kyokushin karate, including the heavyweight championship at the end of his career. But then even better, I think he was 40 years old or 39. I should know, but he took on the 100-man fight, which is fighting 100 very accomplished high-level and black belt Kyokushin fighters in a row, 1 round each, no holds barred. And basically you just do it nonstop. You only have time between rounds just to, bow off and fix your belt and start again on the next one. So it's described as like 3.5 hours, like running a triathlon with people punching and kicking you the whole time. And when Judd Sheehan Reed is the 19th person in history to accomplish it. So when you talk about how many Olympic athletes, gold medalists, how many people have climbed Everest is probably, 10,000 at this point. How many people on the moon? There's been less people to finish the 100-man fight.
Yeah, that's right. There was I remember in the documentary he talks about there was a guy, I think his name is a Japanese fella. I think it's Akira Masuda. At the end of it, he his body was just so broken, he's biting people.
Yep. He just went completely primal. He was just, he was screaming as if that was like a punch or that was going to hurt someone or, and just didn't know who was friend or foe, just swinging at everyone, trying to bite his opponent. So through you and then Anton and then writing the article, and it went well. And I was like, they liked me, I liked them. And, they were like, hey, let's keep doing this. And so they were pitching this documentary to Hollywood, and a lot of the movie studios or the producers or agents, whatever it is, were like, that's great, but a lot of times you need a book as well. And they're like, what idiot do we know who still writes for a living who'd be willing to write a book? Oh, let's call Norm,
Yeah.
And so I was lucky enough to be involved with that project and write 1 book, and now we've written 2, and it all started with you, bro.
Wow, man, I was just happy to be there. Really, I was just one of those. I was just right place, right time. You could say that other people that influenced me to watch the documentary were the real people that connected us. But I'll take the credit.
Yeah, take the credit, bro.
You guys did the book.
Yeah, we were like, let's, this was Anton's vision and what he started, and let's finish it. And it came out and it went great. So,
Man, it turned out really well. Like Judd is the Karate Kid. I mean, we've seen the movie with Pat Morita and Machio.
Yeah,
but legitimately, he's the Karate Kid. Like,
yeah,
he at 16 he gets it in his head to go overseas and do this thing, and he does it.
Yeah,
like that's a determination that very, very few people have as an adult. This dude had it at 16.
Yeah,
and then continued on with it, and then lived that life, and then fought doing it all that time. Like, how does it not get picked up? How do you not get involved in that sort of story?
Yeah, and it's not like it was all wins and he just cruised to a championship. And I mean, for years and years and years he was training like insanely hard and giving it his all, and his whole life was training and fighting in Kyokushin, and he'd come in second and third and second. And so I mean, the story of perseverance, such a hard style. Yeah,
it's such a hard, like you get so beaten up in the battle to get to the second draw, because a lot of these are run on the same day.
Yeah.
So it's not like you meet your opponent today and then 2 days later you get another fight, or a week later.
Oh, they're doing them all on the same day. Yeah.
All on the same day. So you get a rough second bout and the guy kicks the shit out of your legs, and and the other person sees that and they go, right. And they just
injuries are a part of it, are a big part of it. So through Sheehan Reed and, again, through you, Sheehan Reed does these fight camps, Ushideshi, which is like traditional Japanese live-in student fight camps in Thailand. And I've had the pleasure or displeasure of doing 3 of them now. And man, some of the most insane, challenging, but also gratifying experiences of my life are just surviving those 3.
Man, that's I think it was the first one when you wrote to me. I think I cracked my rib on the first day. And it was the long one too.
Oh, 12 days. And so that one basically, so Sheehan Reed and Anton were like, hey, we're doing some more promotion for the book. I'm starting these fight camps. It was his very first fight camp. He's like, come check it out and write another article about it. Great. So I was just going to go as an observer. He's like, oh, and we'll have a gi for you if you want to jump in. Never done Kyokushin, never done karate, in terrible shape. And I was like, nah, I'm going there as an observer just to, write. So I'm drinking beer and eating nachos and, right up to the camp basically. And he's like, here's your gi. And I ended up putting it on the first day for the first session. And I stayed the whole time and somehow managed to survive it. But got first or second day, you're doing body conditioning where people are punching and kicking you and you're sparring. And I've never done this stuff before, and cracked 3 ribs. Yeah. Which is not fun. But, and I've, in subsequent fight camps, I strained or ripped my Achilles, and I kept going. I mean, it's just a matter of, you just can't stop. You just have to go on autopilot. But,
well, that's us, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is us. Push, persevere.
Yeah.
You'll get through it.
As long as you have breath, you could keep fighting, right?
Yeah, that's it. No, that's
some of the most amazing people, I'm still lifelong friends. You're fighting hard, you're beating the crap out of each other and just fighting past the point of your limits and training past the point of your limits. And then these people couldn't, just like Sheehan Reed, couldn't be nicer and more accommodating and just, human when it's when the gi is off and training is done.
Oh yeah, well, they've got it all out of them, and to be honest, they're not going there with malice in their heart when they're shaping up to you.
Yeah,
they're there to get better and help you get better.
Yeah. Oh, and I realized that everyone was kicking the living shit out of me and taking it easy on me at the same time. So I have no illusions about my skill as a fighter.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, I'll tell you, wouldn't want to get matched up with Dean. Like Big Dean, he's got some power on them shoulders.
Oh, he's a tank. It's so much fun too. When we were, here's a little secret. Like we'd be sparring everyone in these sessions, and and Dean and I are friends as well, very good friends, but you're sparring for 6 days, you're doing this, everyone's exhausted, everyone's injured, everyone's knuckles and feet are bloody, and you're going. And so we would spar each other when we were somehow squared off or whatever. And secretly it would be like, all right, just take it easy, this is our little rest here, and then I'd rip him a couple, pap, 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 a couple stomach shots. He's like, "What was that?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm just trying to sell it, man. Just trying to make it look real."
like a wrestling match.
Yeah, and then next thing you know, we're just full on bashing each other. But that guy is such a good fighter, such a good trainer and instructor, and nothing.
And he's a good guy, man.
Good guy.
He's such. The first time I met Dean, he found out. Judge said, "Oh, he knows Norm," and he tells me the story how he met you and he just goes, "Don't be a hero, Dean."
Because he goes hard, and it's
the
day one, he'll get off the plane and start sprinting up hills. And, unfortunately, injuries are a part of managing injuries and knowing when to rest. And, and I'm good at the rest part. Believe me, I'm not so good at the other parts, but, so I'd be like, "Dean, don't be a hero, bro." It's crazy. One of the, probably the last big trip or moment I had before this pandemic struck was February of 2020. I think it was February, going over to Thailand for his wedding, Dean and Christina's wedding.
Oh, wow. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, I was there. And, I was living in Siargao in the Philippines at the time with my girlfriend. And so we had heard, about COVID and this thing in China, and then it was other parts of China, and then it was, starting to branch out, and we were just getting concerned. But so went over to Thailand, had the wedding, it was beautiful. And even in the 10 days or something, or 2 weeks I was there, every day the headlines doubled about COVID, and it spread to a new country. And we were like, whoa, this is getting real, And so towards the end of it, it was a serious thing. But it still wasn't like it blew up like a bomb on the world. Like in the US, they hadn't even, it wasn't even in the newspapers yet. And leaving Thailand, Scott, our mutual friend too, was like, "You should just wait it out here, man. You should just chill here." And I was like, nah, I need to get back to the Philippines, my girlfriend, my dog, my house. I was like, I just dismissed it. But believe me, many times over this last 18 months, I've been like, man, I should have listened to Scott and just stayed in Thailand through the whole pandemic.
But I don't think, if you could remain working, then if you got your income, which is, if that's all good for you, then that's good. But like, they don't have that. That same sort of handouts that you would get. Well, you're living abroad anyway, so you're not going to get any government assistance. I'm just making an assumption that the US government's not going to give you assistance if you're living abroad.
They've had like PPP, which is like businesses basically to boost hiring. They gave a lot of businesses funds, and and then people had unemployment and extra unemployment. But I've been working like a mad dog. My business has doubled or tripled during the pandemic. It's crazy.
That's fantastic, man. The pandemic part sucks, but the fact that your business has tripled is fantastic.
Yeah, and it's all it's all temporary. It's and it's way too many hours for too little money. But I'm blessed just to be able to work when so many are hurting and starving and suffering. And so I try to never forget that and give back where I can. But but that was interesting. And actually, Scott just got into the US a couple of days ago. He flew back.
Oh, really?
First time he left Thailand during the whole pandemic. So he'll be here for a month. And then November 1st on, Thailand is allowing vaccinated visitors to come without quarantine.
Yeah, I think that's when we're going back, we were talking about Pattaya and the Samui Plus. There's only a certain amount of hotels that are doing it. And from the way it's been explained to me, like the cost is kind of prohibitive for a lot of people, because they're kind of saying, well, hey, if I'm going to jump on a plane, I'm going to fly to a country, I'm not going to pay the same prices as I would if I was like, let's say I'm flying from California to Mexico and staying at a really nice resort. I'm paying the same price. What do I need to extra 19 hours of travel and the extra language barrier. Or if I'm in Europe, there's all these places in Europe to visit. I'm not going to spend the same, kind of same. That's the
Well,
way it
yeah,
was
and
explained to me.
going to
Whether it's true or not, I don't know.
yeah, and
But
going into Thailand, for the rules changed and whatever, but no one wants to go visit a country and you're quarantining in a hotel room locked up for the first 10 days or 2 weeks. And so Koh Samui
yeah,
is a beautiful, beautiful place, but tourism is dead right now, but it'll come back. But tell me
I
a
really
little
hope so,
about,
man.
I know you have a really big connection to Koh Samui. Tell me a little about, when you first went there and what you like so much about it, and
Man,
definitely also
yeah.
include at the end a story about Minaj, crazy Minaj there, and
Oh,
in the
menage a
beach on his
trois.
underwear.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, so the first, I'm showing my age, but the first time I went to Samui was in 2000. I had a round the world ticket, and that was like my last stop on the way home. And it was on the recommendation of the travel agent when people still used travel agents back then.
Mm.
And I had an amazing time. I had no idea about Thailand. It was just, I went there as a recommendation, had a Lonely Planet book. Internet was still, this is 2000.
I didn't know you did that in 2000. You went around the world?
Oh, I went to Cape Town, Japan, Hong Kong, and yeah,
That's
and
incredible, bro.
Bangkok, and then and Thailand.
Yeah.
And all the usual scams that happen to naive travelers. I had dreads and my hair was long and all that sort of. I wanted to explore.
Yeah.
So I went there, and most of Samui, there wasn't a lot of paved roads then. I think that main part in Chawang was kind of paved, but like if you went to Lamai, it wasn't as well looked after. And I stayed at a hotel in, I think it was called Montien House. Shit, I'm chugging my memory now. And I had an amazing time, rented a scooter, had an accident, hung out with these other, whatever tourists I could hang out with, I'd hang out with. So there'd be, guys, young dudes, and then there'd be older dudes. And it was just amazing. And I fell in love with it, man. It was, beach, sunset, reggae.
It's a great place. Great place.
And I kept going back there. I went there in 2008 after, again, on the way, I lived overseas for a stint. And on the way home, back to Australia, I was like, Hong Kong was a stop. And I was like, well, it's not really that much to get me to fly to Bangkok and then Bangkok to Samui. So,
yeah.
Hey, if you're going to be broke, go out and, if you're going to, as I say, if you're going to walk on ice, you might as well dance. So I just said, fuck it, and did it. I traveled, and a friend of mine from Australia met me there. And then I ran into some people that I traveled to Egypt with, and they were all there. And we had an amazing time. Went to the full moon party, and, as you do when you're younger and stupid and got lots of energy and might live in an hour's sleep. So we did all of that shit. And then I just kept going back there. I went there with work friends and then other friends. And then, that's how it went. And I loved it. And I started going back there again because there's a gym that I trained at in Melbourne called Hammers.
Yep.
And the owner, Mark Hammer, he was, still is probably, I don't know, I haven't asked him, with a chap by the name of Stefan Fox, who's very well known in the Muay Thai circles. I think he's involved with the World Muay Thai Council, and he's trying to get Muay Thai into the Olympics. And he was had something to do with WMC camp in Lamai in Koh Samui. So I went there because of that connection.
Yeah.
And it was like, why not? Palm trees, and people always say nice things about it. And it was great. I loved it. So I kept wanting to go back there because it's like, here's this island paradise where you can live quite well and not a lot. And if you're kind of a broke backpacker like I wasn't a backpacker all the time, but I just would work, get enough money, go on a holiday, live my life. That was who I was then.
Yeah.
Still am to a point, but And when you and I met Minaj, or when you met Minaj was like, I don't want to go to this place. It's this, that. I want to go somewhere else. I go, trust me, man, you have a good time. Don't worry about it. And he was, oh, hell bent on, I want to go to the full moon party. He's like, yeah, we can go. I mean, the day after you get there, it's on. So we'll just go get a ticket at the local agent.
Yeah.
It'll be sweet. We'll go.
And you take like the boat from Samui to Koh Phanang, which is maybe like an hour boat ride or something, and that's where the full moon party is. I mean, that's the real deal. I was at the full moon party in 1999, the last one before the millennium.
Yeah, didn't you go around with the tux that night or something like that? Or was that in Bangkok?
That was in Bangkok for for January 1st, 2000. Yeah.
Yeah. So so that time, so Manoj came in. It was a morning. He wasn't really feeling it. You met him for the first time, and he wanted to go to the full moon party. And that night we went to Bears. But before we went to Bears, we stayed at the Rich Resort in Samui in Lamai.
Yep.
And I happened to have a liter of Captain Morgan rum, and he had this giant speaker that he fucking traveled with. I don't know why, but he decided it was just like this big clip speaker. It was like a boombox. He was like Radio Raheem from Do the Right Thing boombox.
Carrying around his.
And he was like walking around going 20 de-energizers from a fucking boombox. But he brought it, and he was cranking the tunes, and we drank a hell of a lot. So you, Manoj, and I drank heaps of that bottle. And obviously we didn't make it to the full moon party. We went past Bears, and we didn't make it past Bears because we met Goy and and Bear and you know, you met Bear for the first time.
And they're so sweet. There's this
amazing, man.
These two Thai sisters that are you know, probably our age now. Like,
shout out to Bear's Cocktails in
Bear's
Thailand.
Cocktails, best place ever in Koh Samui. And so it's not a bar, it's a little cart. They have this little like rolling cart and a umbrella, and they basically mix drinks right there. And there's a parking lot, gravel parking lot, that they set up these chairs like picnic tables, and you just sit out there and meet new friends, and everyone sits together, and they just make the strongest, best drinks I've ever had in my life. And so
we got trashed.
Most nights there, like, we don't even make it to bars. We just hang out outside, and they're so fun to talk to. They're, you know, these middle-aged.
Yeah, and you meet so many cool people there. Right?
Unbelievable. People from all over the world. And these middle-aged Thai women, these two sisters, but they are cheeky, and they're like literally gangsters. Like, they had to fight to survive in Koh Samui and in their lives. So very interesting, wonderful people.
Yeah. Lek is Bear's sister's name.
Lek, yep. She is awesome. And they're so funny, but every person who goes to Koh Samui is like, oh, you know, give me some recommendations. And I'll tell them this place, that place, you know, the barbecue place, the rock bar, reggae bar.
Bikini barbecue, man. Fuck.
Yep. And I tell them, like, you got to go to Bear's Cocktails. Okay, where is it? Well, you go to McDonald's, and then the parking lot behind it, basically on that little side road. And they're like, what? I'm like, don't worry, you're going to have the best time of your life. Yeah. Yeah. She gets great reviews in TripAdvisor. Wow. People love her. They love her. Yeah. Yeah. I met Bear on some weird happenstance. Like, I saw her one day. I was with, in 2014, I was there with Mark, a mate of mine. We were at Pinyo, Muay Thai. We were there for like 5-6 weeks. And I made another friend of mine, Jason, who'd just been to Cambodia, came over, and he was like doing 2 weeks there because he was going to the wedding. And we just happened to see her there, and she wasn't feeling great. So we just had a chat to her. We sat down, we started drinking, and I've known her since. Yeah. Yeah, and, they're wonderful. Yeah, they've always been so nice. Yeah, so anyway, getting back to that night with Manoj and not making it to the full moon party. Moj, he's such a classic. He drank in an amazing amount, and I don't know if you want to edit some of this stuff out, just take it as will. And we ended up at some bar somewhere where they had nangs. Yeah. And for those of you who don't know what nangs are, you can just Google it. I'm not going to. Nang is a nitrous balloon. Yeah. So he had some nangs, and then it just the night just escalated more and more drinks happened. And we got home at some crazy hour. I don't know what it was. And I know the next morning he didn't want to eat breakfast at the hotel. So he decided, let's go to Bikini Barbecue. So he was feeling rough. So you, myself, and Manoj walked up to Bikini Barbecue, and he was rough, man, like really rough. He had like 2 coffees, a couple of orange juices, giant breakfast, and he's like rough. And you turn to him and go,
hey man, you're not feeling well. Why don't you just take a dip in the ocean? You might feel better. He
Yeah.
goes, really? He goes, yeah, do it. And so without Elliot, he just strips off. He's walking around in his, his undies, reg grundies. He just jumps into the water, has his swim, comes out, and he goes, you know what, man, I feel better. And then
Yeah.
in his, obviously hungover state, not really in a mind to object. This, the people that work on the beach that sell sunglasses and stuff. There was a person there, was a lady there, and she was doing the toenail cuttings and the
Yeah, the
foot scrub and all
manicure,
that.
pedicure,
And
all that stuff.
yeah, she basically just cornered him in his feeble-minded state and just pressure sold him into getting on. So he's sitting there baking in the sun with that fucking hangover stewing.
So this is a skinny Indian dude who's like not half drunk. He's still 3/4 drunk in his red underwear, dripping wet, getting a pedicure at like 10 a.m. We're like,
and then he decided, hey, after he finished the pedicure, he it's time to go home. We got the check bin, and we go back. We bounce back to the hotel, and he just decides to walk back in his underwear. And like I think you filmed him, but that would have been on the old a Facebook account, which you don't have.
I think we did have a video of him just strolling in his red underwear, half naked down the main street there by the beach,
all the way back. But he loved, like, still to this day, he swears by it. And that, my friend, was the start of his love story with that island. Now that's like one of his favorite spots to go.
It's an incredible place. I'm excited to go back. Yeah,
dude, I can't wait, man. I really love it. Like, we've had so many adventures there, you and I. Remember Hayden and George?
So
Mad Hayden.
George, nicest guy, gentle giant, nicest guy you'll ever meet from the UK. And he was there for a while, and basically we took him under our wing, and he did some training with us, and just sweet kid. And he got turned up. That was his first time, I think, in Southeast Asia.
He lives in Vietnam now?
He moved to Vietnam. In the place that I used to live in the city, there was Nha Trang outside about, like 10 miles is a beach area. And God, I forget what it's called, but he bought this famous beach bar that was there when I lived there, and he actually owned it. I don't know now with the pandemic, but right before our podcast this morning, I posted our graphic on Instagram and Facebook, and he liked it. I saw he'll at least be listening. So shout out to Big George, huh?
Yeah. So I think they called it Coco Surf Kitchen. I don't know if it's still there.
Man. Yeah, I have no memory, but it was famous even when I was living there, and so I was amazed, like small world shit, that he had bought that exact bar. Yeah. They were wild, man. Like, they were like motocross boys who lived down in part of England, Dover. Because I was thinking White Cliffs, the White Cliffs of Dover. Yep.
Yeah,
Hayden, good guys, solid guys.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. So that was, we've had some incredible, unfortunate, incredible journeys, and it will continue, man.
It will continue.
This shit's just temporary. It'll be like, remember that time that we had a pandemic and everyone talks about it, and it sucks, but oh well, we're here now and we're doing this.
And it makes us reprioritize and figure what we want out of life. For me, it makes me appreciate, and it's cliche, but it's true. It makes me appreciate the people, the memories, the blessings that, that I have food on the table. So I'm all, man, my heart's all gratitude, and going down memory lane with you on this podcast is the best damn thing I've done all year, bro. It's been fun.
Oh, dude, I'm on. This is good, man. Well, we haven't caught up like this in a minute, and like to think, because I wrote it down. I was like, when did I meet Norm? I was like, fitness resort, and I just looked at my Facebook pictures, fitness resort, and that was like 2013. I was like, that's when, and because there's a picture there with I'm in it, and you see Stuart in the background. Yeah, and I was like, yeah, that's in 2013.
Yeah, we got a lot of crazy photos and memories, and the cast of characters along the way is epic. But bro, I know I've taken almost 2 hours of your time. It's late at night in Melbourne. Bro. You have a beautiful family waiting for you probably there, but I promise you we have to do podcast number 2, because there's still so much more to talk about your life and to dig into where you've been and what you do.
Absolutely. Anytime, man. You let me know. I'll be there.
ทำไมถึงทำกับฉันได้